as always. Joe, tell me a little bit about what you want to achieve, um, with your trading endeavors. What do you want to achieve? It's very important for me to know what type of trader are you, like from the standpoint of, do you plan on watching your trades? Are you day trading, or are you looking to make a gain shortly, or a long period of time? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, what I have been doing is I'm probably what you would call a quarter trader. I very seldom sell a stock that I don't hold for at least a quarter.
Okay.
Because that seems to work out pretty good. Like I said, I look mostly at the biotech medical stocks because there's a lot of flexibility within those. And I have some that I know I'm not going to sell for a year because they're still finishing up their phase 3. So those I don't even consider. What I am interested in doing, and what intrigued me about your pitch, was the robots.
Okay.
Because within some of the companies that I've already bought, the stock has fluctuated as much as 85 or 90 cents a day, which is a pretty big fluctuation if you have 500 or 600 shares of stock. And what I wanted to do was set up a separate account, which I will do, that moves the stocks that I already own without selling the base of them, but allows me to purchase additional shares and sell those and repurchase and sell those and repurchase. And I think that, with the 10 or 11 stocks that I've got or that I'm looking at and I've been following, that might prove to be interesting. I don't have the time to do that myself, obviously. But if I can set up the parameters and give it a try and see if it works, or it's just, some of my insanity spilling through, that would be very helpful for me.
Okay. Well,
I'm really only interested in using this program right now for the robots.
Right, and it sounds as if you're only interested in entering, and then you'll do your own exits.
No, I'm going to set up the exits too.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a predetermined. Here's how much money I want out of this before we leave, and then exit. But then I will, once that happens, then I'll go back and reset it for something else.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So I will let you know this, and this really has nothing to do with IonDesk. I actually had an ex-NFL player do some of the same things, like he basically loaded up on Facebook, and so his expectation is that he wanted to buy and sell more shares of Facebook, in and out, on top of the shares he already owned. And I will tell you that, as a disclaimer, not really legally, but just for your information, is that be aware that the actual in and out of shares of a stock that you already own, understand that the in and out, meaning say if you bought at X price, that the shares that may be taken may be your first in shares, part of your first in shares. That has nothing to do with IonDesk. That would be up to your broker's behavior. So if E-Trade, if you've got E-Trade set up for a first in, first out, you may need to go set it up to a last in, last out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's going to be a separate account.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. If it's a separate account, then we're not talking about the same thing.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with any of that stuff.
Right.
So
but yeah,
I'm setting up a separate account to do this.
Totally understood. All right, great. So, I actually do have a robot right here. And have you had a chance to kind of go into IonDesk to maybe look around?
Well, I've played with it. I've played with a lot of the elements of it, and I set up a trading work spot, and I've set up a watch list,
Mm-hmm.
and I've set up robots.
Okay.
But the problem I have now is, you can't see my screen, can you? No.
We can get into that. I can easily switch over to see your screen. Sure. Hello.
I don't have that capability in my system. I mean, if you have.
Well,
so
yeah. I have the ability to to pass presentation over to you.
Oh, I can.
So,
well, I can. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, let me just tell you. Maybe that's not necessary. I've got the robot screen open now. Okay.
Okay.
And and what I see is the robot root. It is currently on, right?
Okay.
Then I see the new robot group. And under that, I have 3 that I created. SMT, MCP, and ALXA.
Okay.
But
okay.
I can't see what I did. I went through it. I looked at I was just looking at your screen, and I did all of that.
Mm-hmm.
All of that you did. But
basically,
I can't
you set up the legs.
see it. Yep. I set up the stocks. I set up all of that stuff. Yeah, you're widening it out now. And I did the start, the market and all of that. But now I can't see that. I don't know how to open that portion of.
If you expand model order.
Where am I? Okay, model order. Let me see where that is. It's under what?
So
model order. Okay, I expand that. Oh,
right.
There it is. I got it.
Yeah.
All right.
So there's your model order, and don't get discouraged if sometime if you're clicking around and then one might open up and you say where'd it go, and it's just it's just slid down a little bit because your previous model order, like if you open up a different one, it'll change the location of the scroll bar. But other than that, everything will always be per your robot. If you see me, I'm just expanding a few things so that you can see. There are different ways that you can operate the robot. Like, for instance, this is the status per each robot, and then right below that are the commands. I'm going to collapse each one to make some room. So We've got some manual commands here that we can also do via right-click. We can do some of the things like being able to dock a robot. When you dock a robot, that's just like setting it in cement. It cannot move unless you undock it, meaning like if I go here and right-click on my robot group, and I proceed to say place online, nothing will happen.
So that's really a blocking it out.
Right. And so, because there's a lot of settings that can make these things come on and off, and so when you dock something, nothing can bring it back on. It has to be brought on manually. Okay? And
all right.
Once you're out of
Is that something you recommend? Is that something you recommend that be implemented? Is that they be blocked once you set them?
Well, it's just everything depends on how you like to do things. Like for me, I'll come in here and I'll be working with a set. Like this one is not docked, and so like let's say if I wanted to do something, I wanted to do an operation, and I did not want these 2 robots here to come online, I'll just dock them. It's not really a preference or a suggestion. It's just whatever you need. Per that situation. And I'll give you some examples like where that may come into play. Like for instance, like with the robots, I could actually have the robots like say like if I had 4 robots here, I'm going to add another one. So let's say I didn't want to move these 2, but I wanted these 2 to operate, and I could possibly go into my group and I could say, okay, when one of these robots begins to trade, I want you to take the others offline. When those robots finish, when that robot finishes, I want you to bring the others online. Okay? Now, because we've only got 2 robots here that have the possibility of running, even though I haven't set this one up, that means that when this particular automation, the automation kind of process of taking other robots offline, it's not going to affect anything that's docked, because the docked ones must be enabled manually. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a way that, like, if you had 10 robots and you said, I want these 10 robots to be constantly watching the market. I want them to find opportunities for me. After the first one finds an opportunity, I want the other 9 to go offline. And then when that robot sells either as a gain or a loss, I want the other 9 to come back online. And so there's a lot of different ways that comes into play, because some people have limited amounts of money, but they want to apply all of their money maybe to one trade at one time. I don't recommend that, and you won't hear me recommend trades at all, really, or types of trade. I'll just give you examples. But if you did, that's a way of managing, allowing all of your robots to look for opportunities, but at the same time, when the first one finds an opportunity, the others will go off. So this is a customer request that we added to the settings, and like you have 3 levels for a reason. We've got the root level, which you're able to apply conditions, and you can look at my conditions that I have set here on this computer. And as you can see, I have a condition that I want my robots to run between 9:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. Okay? And that's just a rule that I have, and all of my robots obey that rule. So if I came in at 9 a.m., the robot will appear yellow until it becomes 9:35, and then they'll turn green. Okay? And so I can apply rules and strategies at the root level. I can apply them at the group level. Okay? And I can apply them at the robot level. Okay? And I can also apply them at the leg level. So there's a lot of levels that you can apply strategies at. It's a very powerful kind of thing to control.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
Okay, and so as far as trading manually, well, let's just call it semi-manually. I don't even think that's a word. And so I have a robot selected. It is in the what we call offline position. When it's red, it's in an offline position. Okay.
Right.
And so if we wanted to place this trade online, let me take a look at this trade before I place it here, so we can kind of read what it's going to do. It has a market as the entry, but it also has a strategy that's controlling that market entry. Let's take a peek at it. And so basically, the only thing I'm saying is if the trend is let's see, if the bullish trend is more than 70%, then this particular trade will fire. It'll actually place a trade. Let's go ahead and place this trade manually. Okay, so I'm just going to place it manually, and then there's the robot. And so right now it is monitoring the market to check for this strategy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now it's looking back 10 candles, and let's see, that's trading TNA, and so we can do the math ourselves. It's looking back 10 candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that means that we must have at least 70% of these candles green per the strategy that I had selected before this trade will start. So as you see, this trade hasn't started yet. Now, if I went in to change that strategy and lowered it to maybe, like, let's say, look back 5 candles, okay, over 1 minute, and so we'll reset this. Is that 1 minute or 3 minutes? Let's see.
That's 1 minute.
Okay, let's set it to 3, because that chart up there is 3. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
This is the trend spider. Oh, we're looking at the lows. Okay. Let's look at the closes. Okay, we're comparing. Okay, I got you. That particular. Let's look at, where's that momentum strategy? That's a little bit easier to digest. Let's look back 5 candles on that one. 3 minutes. We've got a buy signal less than 3 minutes. Let's see what we've got here. Must be something else. I must have turned something else on while I was talking. That is maybe blocking this particular robot. Let's see.
Well, I can see what you're doing. I understand that one.
Yeah. I'm just trying to take a look here to see if there's anything blocking this particular robot. Use all candles. No, we don't want to use them all. Okay. Let's do a reset. This is strange.
Strange things always happen when you're doing something.
Yeah. Yep, that is so true. That is so true. Okay.
But I get it. I understand what you're doing.
Yeah. And so yeah, this particular trade is, of course, waiting for the strategy there to be true, and I'm still
the strategy, what you've got down is you're going to buy it
right
at 74.24. It hasn't hit that.
Well, the thing is that when you place a market order, that is your
you should place I see.
Right. Yeah, so something is kind of awry here, or either I've got something else in these settings that I've selected, or something is kind of blocking it from going. But I'm like, you get the gist of where it should be. Yeah. So I'm just
Those are good points. That's a good thing to have that capability. I don't know how. See, I won't know until I start doing it.
Right.
How it's really going to play out.
Right. And so.
But I wonder if I went into one of mine. Let me just see. But I've got a whole bunch of these things. A couple of them that seem to be good. SMT. Let's see what's happening with SMT right now. Smart technology.
Okay. There's one. Yeah, there's something that I have set somewhere. I must have been showing someone something, and this particular robot is it must be something, but I don't know where it is. That's the thing about it. But this one here, it has a very similar strategy, and as you can see, like we're, I guess, moving up there. But I went in and unchecked some of the strategy. So, like for instance, because I unchecked this, none of this has to be true. Wow, this is this is definitely some training area where I was doing some really wild stuff, showing some customers something. So if I was to enable that, and then, like, let's say for instance, if I cancel this robot and then place it back online, you'll see that those strategies here must have been true, and it's basically saying that, like, the previous bar, bullish went above the highs of the average, and so that particular last candle is higher, and so that's what allowed it to trigger. Let's see. We've got some other things here.
That's a really technical analysis there.
Well, I mean, there's just a bunch of things that you can do. I mean, like when you come in here, okay, like for instance, like let's start with a brand new robot, because I don't like to mess around with things that I was kind of messing around with other customers. So I'm going to take this offline and close this position. And as you can see, like since we're in practice mode, you can actually see what you would actually make here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new robot, and I'm going to start from scratch. And now, what is it that you like to trade?
Let me see. Let me give you one of the ones that I've been watching. This is Baxter, BAX.
Okay, BAX, $75 stock. Just my favorite range too.
Is it?
Yeah. I like to trade stocks that are like above 50 to like the $80 range because of the movement that I get from them. It's very predictable, especially ETFs that track the broader market.
Yeah.
BAX. All right, so we've got BAX loaded, and what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to set up an entry, a target, and a stop. Of course, a lot of people don't trade like that. That's just something that I do. And so I'm going to come in here and clear all of the practice orders. And right now it's telling us that, okay, you need to enter in a quantity there. Okay, we entered in a quantity. I would normally do either 1,000 or 2,000 shares on that. And then, okay, so we're set up with our trade here. Okay, let's see. We've got our entry, we've got our target, and so let's place this online. Okay, we place it online. Okay, right now we've got it set up incorrectly. Let's see here. We've got this. Let me check something here. And so we've got our stop. We're entering in as got 1,000 shares there. We got our stop here. Okay, and so if we place this guy online, and so now, this is just a simple, three-leg trade where we have our stop, we have our target and an entry, and so we're waiting for one of them to hit. And so if we wanted to get a little bit more technical, we could very easily add simple things. Like for instance, I see that like a situation where like you might trade this if you have a 2-candle pattern, and so I might go in here and pick a pattern, and then say when I see 2 soldiers over a 3-minute time period, I want the signal to be less than or equal to 3 minutes. Okay, and so the great thing about IonDesk is that you're able to set these time spans for your trades, and so you could come in here and give your strategies windows, if that makes any sense. So, like for instance, if you had a strategy, like for instance, like you were talking, like the last time we talked about news. Like let's say if you had a strategy, and of course you wouldn't want your trade to fire as soon as it saw some news, okay? But you may want to have a strategy within a strategy. So for that day, that news was on, and so you might say that if you see this news, once we get into your particular solution, if you see this news or you see these keywords in the news, okay, that would be considered a setup. And so we want that window to last for 9 hours. Great. Okay? All right? And then you might say, well, I want to see a 2-candle pattern or a 3-candle pattern back to back, before you even enter. Okay? I also would like to have, maybe for that day, I would like to definitely have the stock that I'm trading. So we would say the quote from the order. I definitely would want the change to be greater than 0. Right? And so that just means that it's in the green. Okay? And so just these
Right.
little simple things are very simple criteria that you could expand on and put your knowledge of how you want the trade to behave for that day. Okay? And so basically what we're saying is that whenever you see two candles, a soldier pattern back to back, this is a very well known bullish reversal. It's just two candles that are side by side. And so whenever that happens, and if BAX is greater than 0 for the day, the change, then everything is a go. And so I'm going to clear out the orders, and let's see if this order places. Now, of course, it's not right now because we don't have two candles side by side.
Exactly.
But as soon as we do, because
where
BAX
did you open that?
I just double
pattern.
clicked, or you can right click and say configure
strategy. Okay.
Right. And so as soon as that happens over here, if it happens, of course this is a 3-minute chart, but as soon as it happens, if this next bar is green, you're going to see that order fire because it is above 0.
Yeah.
And so that's
pretty interesting. That's a good thing, but you've got to do a lot of research. That's what I found that you got to do.
Well, look at it like this. I always tell people to start from what you want. Don't try to learn the software. You let the software learn you. And so you decide how you want things to be in your mind, and then you say, software, I want you to do this, right? And so just like I always tell people, write out exactly the way you think things should be. Just like I was talking out to you, I was pretending as if I was you. I was saying, well, I want the news to be my main trigger. If there's no news, then I don't want to be a part of it. Okay, and so the news is the major window. And so you would take a sheet of paper and say news, and then how long would you want that to happen? Okay, 9 hours, great. Now we do have a news-based indicator in here. It may not be what you want, but I can show you how it works. Okay, we would select news. I wonder if I have any news. So I've got U.S. markets, and let's see, and I'll work backwards and show you how this works. I'm gonna say greater than 50%. Okay. Now that doesn't make any sense right now to you, but it will once you see, what we have over here. And again, I wouldn't. You know how like you was asking earlier, and I think I set that up incorrectly, but this is what I wouldn't I guess suggest readily, and I hope that turns green on us so we can watch the order come on. Okay, so here is my U.S. market news. Okay, right?
Right.
Okay. Now over here, I've set up some keywords, just the word red. So whenever the word red shows up in any of these news RSS, then that means that the weight of that is 100. So I'm going to change this to something that's more that we see, like IPO. I'm going to put IPO because that's one of the keywords there. Let's see, days old 23 rank. And so let's see here. What are some of the other things that we have here? Okay, bullish or bearish? It is bullish. And so as soon as this if we were to use this particular news indicator, our U.S. markets with the keywords IPO, it's enabled, and we're saying that the weight is 100. So this number right here, as soon as we see this keyword, it will say that that's worth 100. Okay? Now, if we have multiple keywords, and we give another a weight of 20, and it will average those guys to generate a indicator. Is this starting to make sense now?
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But where does the news come? Where does the news come from?
This is
are you using
Yahoo.
an RSS?
Yes.
Yahoo News.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so this is currently coming from Yahoo. Again, I wouldn't use this particular news app today, simply because we're probably going to be building something better. But you do see how it works. Okay, so we would go over here and subscribe to some news source, and so I would come in here like you're in the, let's see, health. No, you're not really healthcare.
Yeah. But it's over there. It's biotechnology right at the top.
Yeah, it would be biotech, like drugs or generic, maybe. Let's see. Let's just see what's under here for right now. See, there's nothing even there.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But
no, I was going to say if you went to healthcare, then go to the top, biotechnology.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I was doing. Yeah, see, it like that's why I was saying that this doesn't to me seem too like there's plenty of Apple news, and so there should be plenty of biotech news there,
Yeah, there should be, and the thing about the news is, a lot of the times it's not anything that is going to move the stock. Or anything like that. It's just,
but
so you'd have to have you'd have to narrow it down an awful lot.
Right. And like for instance, one time I had a very good example, because you can get pretty specific with these keywords. If you notice that like you can use certain things. Like for instance, I had written a little small keyword script, and it actually could find UPS layoffs, and then how many, okay?
Yeah.
And so, so even though I'm putting little simple words in here because, time and on all these other constraints, you could get very specific, and then it generate some type of number that you could use back into your strategy here. Now, again, this was the original design, but you remember how I was telling you that we could easily build something more specific that points directly at a news source and that reads it in the manner that you want it to. So, that's just kind of giving you an example. Like this is right in line with what I was telling you a few days ago. I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm actually going to switch this over to Crows, because it's showing us negative here. And we're actually going to flip this upside down. We're going to sell short. Okay? And we're going to reset this robot, and then it should be getting ready to place us a trade here in a minute. We've got two crows. Yep. So and so we could we could look at
if you're sitting there watching it, you can do a lot. Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Yeah. And so you would set this up, in any manner that would allow you to do a lot of different things. So
well, you know what? I think I get it. I think I'm obviously going to have to spend days playing with it to be comfortable with it.
And again, Joe, take my words to heart that you definitely want to work from. You want to work from what like now that you see what you could do, you want to work from your concept of this is what I want. These are the things that I want to happen to trigger my trade, and these are the things that I want to take me out of my trade. Once you've developed a trading model, then you make the computer follow that model. Is that making sense? Yeah. That's the approach that I always tell people, because we built the thing, and once you start to get an X amount of features, you get exponential opportunities and combinations, and it's almost beyond infinite right now. Because when you start thinking about the settings and the different types and the different ways and the different windows, that would just make your mind explode. But if you just
it would, and it's gonna. It looks like it's going to eventually evolve into categories of stocks, because some stocks just aren't going to, like for the news, there are some stocks that would apply to, and there are some that it wouldn't. And all of the markers and everything.
Right.
It's a incredibly sophisticated machine. I was very optimistic when I got it, because I liked the idea of of combining the two ways. I mean, I'm basically just playing in it. I don't have serious money in it anymore. But,
Right.
This is not anymore. We once did, but not anymore. You know how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, but like your thought process. Again, IonDesk is all about capturing your, capturing your thought process and then placing it into, like your trade. And so the concept of placing strategies at each leg. So, like for instance, if I wanted my target leg to actually follow a strategy, and I could just, say something as simple as time. And if the time was, greater than, like let's just say 236, then that would be my out, and then I would just change this to a market order, okay? And so if my let me remove the strategies here. So if my entry leg went off, I can make my target leg be per time, okay? And so if we ran this, let me just reset in place. Okay, so our entry order just placed very easily. And so the only thing that's going to trigger our sell is going to be the time that we set, regardless of how much money, we make or lose. And that, that's not a good strategy, but it's just showing you that, right now that stop loss is waiting on time for it to trigger. And so, there's an array of things you can do. And I'm always honest with customers. It's like I'm not a better trader than you.
No, you just wrote the program. That's all. I mean,
we just wrote the mechanism. Yeah, I mean, even
exactly.
though by hand, I'm a pretty good by hand trader. Pretty good. I basically a look at stock waves. It's pretty clear what Baxter's doing right now is down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, and there's a clear Elliott wave going on right there. So I would almost suggest that this is going to be an up, without even kind of looking at the next wave.
Well, the reason that I looked at Baxter is because they have just announced a phase 3 trial completion, which is in the drug business. That's huge, and they passed.
Yeah, right.
So I think you can see where it went sunk right to the top, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, how much it went up.
Right.
That's when the announcement was made.
Right.
So I
and
mean,
and that's the normal behavior of those type of stocks. Up,
exactly.
Everybody made money, sell off, and then fill.
Yep, and then all the people that bought it, at nothing, they're selling right now, making their money. So those are the kind of things that you can see coming,
right?
And you can program for it with your device here. I think we can do that. So I'm optimistic about it. Now let me just check with you here now. When you on the robot you have up now, your market is that's what you just paid for, right?
Right. That means allow me to enter anywhere in the market at any time.
Right.
Okay.
At any time.
At any price. And so the prices that you see on the side. I'm sorry. I was clicking on the stop when I should have been looking at the entry, because we did do a sell short.
Yeah, you did.
A sell short instead of a buy right there. But and so actually this would be upside down if we did a buy, and then we would have a target. But again, like what this is saying is
change the market. What happens if you change the market instead of market price? What happens if you make it a limit?
Okay?
Yeah.
If I make it a limit, then that means that I want you to buy. So like let's clear and let's watch the behavior there. Okay, right now the current price is $75.92. Let's move this guy down. Okay, let's move it down, and we'll say that we don't want the. We'll set the limit right there. Okay, and so we'll place this guy back online, and we'll see it sit there. If you notice, it's not in my account view. It's sitting there waiting for the limit price of $75.87.
Right. And when that price comes, if it should come, then it'll hit it that way.
Right. It'll fire. And then it'll
Right.
wait for our stop loss. Now, right now, we don't have a target set for that. Now, here are some cool things, Joe, that you must wrap your brain around. These other three are very much dynamic. Okay. Now, what this means is like, let's look at the limit last. That means the last price that was placed. I'm gonna clear the practice orders again. Now, what you're able to do, and I think I spoke this to you, but I wasn't able to show it to you because we weren't online.
Right.
Okay, this is what I was talking about. How this particular order says, I want you to place a limit order based on the last price when this gets placed 10 cents below that. Okay, so
right.
if we place this robot right now, okay, the current price is $75.91. We should be at $75.81. So let's place it. Let me take it offline first. Now we place it, and that limit price is $75.81. So that's a very cool feature, even if you were trading this by hand. So like if I open up the bracketed orders and I just copied this one, you can copy and then paste. I can actually sit here and kind of, if I wanted to game the market, and I could set this maybe about 2 cents back, 0.2 cents back. I could do that, and of course I get rid of this stop and add a sensible stop.
Yeah.
Meaning like one that's not based on time.
Yeah.
And, let's see, and then I'm trying to get a target in here, not clicking the right thing. And so now, once again, because anything, this order is not based on any particular level. It's just saying that based on the current price, when you place this order, then offset it. Okay? And that's a pretty powerful thing, especially for people that trade by hand. But even like you, now you can also combine this. You can combine it with a strategy. So like, let's say if you had a strategy, but you found over time, dog, I always place that order about, 20 cents too high. Okay, well, if your strategy goes off, you can say, okay, now I want you to place 20 cents lower after the strategy has said that it's time to go. That makes sense?
No.
So, okay, let's go back to the news scenario. The news said go. Your other parameters,
right.
Your two soldiers and whatever else said go. But you never liked the entry. You never liked the entry point that you got. I mean, you wish that you were 10 cents back or 20 cents back before your order actually executed. Okay? You may like your strategy, but you didn't like the entry. Okay? And so what you could do is you can say, okay, when the strategy is done, this thing is still going to place an order 20 cents lower than the current market price. Now, of course, that doesn't bring you into the market, but it does set you back. And so it's just a lot of ways that you can place your order. I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with trails, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got your trails that you can use. Like we've got our specialized trails, the ones that use greater than, less than, and all those things like that. We've got our stops. We've got our conditionals. So, like for instance, if I had a conditional, all right. Now, this is a tricky question that I always tell people. Some people say, okay, I ask them, I say, well, which price matters the most when you're selling? the ask price, the bid price, or the current price. Okay, I won't trick you, Joe, because I can tell that that you're a busy guy. So what I will tell you is that the bid matters, right? Because that's who you're selling to. So what this is saying is that, and I'm going to set this back to market so that we don't get too confused. If this order was to place, then I want you to sell once the price got 5 cents greater than the bid.
Than the bid price. Very good. That's very cool. That is very cool.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure you've placed plenty of trades, and you're saying I'm about to make X amount of dollars, and then it'd be X amount of dollars minus 5 cents, right? Well, the reason why is because the bid price hasn't crossed that area. It doesn't matter about the price because you're not selling there. You're selling into the person that's bidding, right? And so Ion Desk will sit there and watch for the price that you want. So in this particular case, once the bid got above 6 cents above where we bought at, then it will sell into the bidder. Now, of course, it's not going to be perfect because the bidder can move, but at least you know that you're selling into strength and not just selling because the price crossed that area. It's just another little detail that we've got here.
Yeah, that's a good that's a very good detail. I like that.
Yeah, and so a lot.
You're right. You're not selling it. You're not selling it to the market. You're selling it to the bid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody's willing to pay for it right now, not 5 minutes from now.
Exactly. And so, like for instance, I'm just going to place this order so that we can get a grip on that. Okay, so I'm placing this order. Okay, so right now, Baxter is telling me that if I sold right now, my unrealized gain would be negative $20. Okay, that's the money that I'm really going to make or lose. This number right here is just where the price is. Okay,
right.
So of course, like whenever you see unrealized gain, that is your true gain. That is, if I sold it right now, that's exactly what I'm going to make. And so if we sell it, we're going to be looking at $20 negative, okay? Because that's the bidding price.
Right.
All right. So I know that I'm kind of all over the place.
No, this is the only way to figure it out because this is such a broad-based, flexible platform that you could never tell me everything there is to know about it in one phone call.
Well, I can try. Okay, so I just jumped over real quick to the back testing because I want you to take a look at this.
That's something else that I was interested in doing.
Okay, so I'm going to take off this time of the day because that's going to get us into trouble. And let's see here. Let's take this stop. Oh, I don't know what is wrong with me today. I don't know what is going on with my mouse activities today, but I know I look as if I've never used this thing. And so basically, again, we've got a 3-point order, and I don't want to push 3-point orders on people because I've got people that trade without bottom side stops. I got people that trade without top side stops. So, but this is just the way that I trade. I trade with bottom and top. Kind of like it's not Will Rogers. What's the other guy? Kenny Rogers, where he said you got to know when to fold them and know when to
hold them.
Yeah. So that's the kind of trader I am. I'm going to turn on Renko and let's see how Renko performs up against Baxter. So what I'm going to do here is, as you see, it still has some of our old stuff. I'm going to add a signal called Renko. Renko is a very interesting signal that a client brought to me. Let's see, candle. We want the Renko line signal. And I'm going to leave everything set as default, but we are going to change this to a 3-minute because that's the increment that I love. And we want the buy-sell window to be, I'm going to need to explain this to you right now so that you get this, all right? Again, think about a signal like an explosion, okay, that you can control how long it makes a boom sound, right? So with signals, imagine yourself trying to, like if you had a strategy that was made up of three parts, like you wanted two soldiers. You want this other thing. You want the MDAC to be to be bullish or whatever. Now, as we know, these things may not line up at the exact perfect time, right? So if they don't line up at the exact perfect time, our order will never place, right? So what we have to do is we have to open up the window of time so that they overlap, right? And so that's why you see me come in here with just about all of my strategies. You'll see me come in here. I'll set the interval to the time that I like. Yours might be 5. Yours might be a minute. Yours may be 15. And then I'll set the operator, meaning that I want this signal to last 3 minutes or less. So what that is saying is that I want the signal to last for 3 minutes. So my order can buy or sell anytime within 3 minutes. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to show you what the Renko looks like visually before we actually place any trades. Let me show you here. I'm going to clear this out. Now, with our charts are not the best in the industry. That's because the charts were designed to show you. You know what? I want to leave those channels there that I set up. Our charts are there to show you signal behavior. So I'm actually going to plot the Renko signal onto this chart to show you exactly where the buy and sells would occur. Okay? This is where the buy and sells would occur if you had associated them with your order. Okay? It looks pretty messy, but let me clean it up for you because it's not as bad as you may think. Okay? I'm going to normalize it, and so we only see sells after buys and buys after sells. Okay? This is what the Renko is going to do. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the line for the Renko so you can actually visually see what it looks like. I'm going to make it kind of thick, 7 pixels, and we're going to use, okay. So there's the Renko. Now, what does Renko do for us? What Renko does for us is nice little things like this. Whereas a moving average is late, Renko is early and on time. It works with momentum. So based on how I have my Renko set, look at this nice little area here. I didn't get a buy or a sell. It just stayed flat, right? This would indicate a buy. This would indicate a buy. This would indicate a buy. We got our first sell signal right there. Boom. And this will be a second sell signal. We didn't get any signals right here because what Renko does is it basically, even though you're seeing lines, it smooths out the behavior of the stock and basically gives you in increments. And this isn't anything that I created. This is a well-known, let me go here. I don't know why we don't have help right there. I'm going to go over here and show it to you. And you can look it up, let's see. I'm going to show you a little bit, again, this is our little quick help. And this is a Japanese signal that was created years ago, and basically what it is based on what they call bricks, and bricks in our terms is just price increments. So you can fix the bricks, you can base the bricks off of how your stock is trading. So like for instance, I could make the brick size be based on the first 10 candles, the first 15, the last 60 minutes, the larger range, the smaller range, and on and on and on. There's a lot of different ways. Or an absolute size. I can say I want you to look at all of the candles to determine the average true range, but I don't want the brick size to be larger than, let's say 20 cents, 25 cents. So what that's saying is that every time the stock moves up 25 cents, that's equivalent to a buy. Every time it moves down 25 cents, that's equivalent to a sell. Okay?
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of stuff, but that's just if you want to get into it. The one thing we always do is when you come into it, the most that you can do a lot of configuration, but the most that you would need to do is to set your interval and how long the signal lasts. Because we normally kind of know that people don't want to mess around with too many settings, but you can make it do a lot of different things. But what I want to show you is let's look at the Renko, how it will perform. All right, how it's going to perform in our back test. We've got Renco to drive our entry. We've got just a simple. If the bid is greater than this level, then sell it. If the price is lower than here, then sell it. And I normally set mine to 1-to-1, and I'll give you some math as to how all of this works, like in terms of trading goes. Now, we all know that if we set our order up like this, well, we've got basically a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio. If we set it up like this, same difference. The thing that any trader or any investor always wants to do is, of course, limit the downside and open up the top side, because we don't, like, let's just say every trade is 50-50, right? So we've got better tools than this to allow profit to run, but still capture it before you lose it. And I'll show you those things later. All right, so let's go set up our back test. Like the back test essentially has an order form, which looks like all of our forms in the robot or in the bracketed orders. It's the same form. And then we go here to the settings, and then this will allow us to set up a time period. So let's see. This is about a month. I'm just going to do 1 day. And then I'm going to run it at about 15-second intervals so that it's pretty fast. I want the volatility to be kind of medium. That means like the price oscillation between intervals there. And we'll leave everything up to the same, and we'll apply our broker's fees, which is E-Trade's normal broker fee, which is about $7.99. All right, and then we'll just leave everything else the same. Pretty simple there. Okay, so let's run this thing and see what happens. We'll see how it's going to perform with the Renco. Okay, that's pretty good. Up and down, up and down. All right. Okay. Well, what happened there? Great.
Yeah, it was nice, wasn't it? It ran nice.
Yeah. Let me copy this thing, and then something didn't happen, right?
Yeah, but I saw what you did. So.
Yeah. I'm gonna try this again here.
Can you? All right, we'll run this, and then I want you to go back and do the Renco overlay over the chart.
Okay.
Again.
Okay, so this is running. It looks like it's running on December the 2nd. I'm just going to run it for a day because this one's actually set to run about 13 days. We're not going to wait that long. Let's see. So this is day number 2, and we'll stop it right there. Okay, so this is what I was expecting a few minutes ago. I'll tell you, it never fails when you're doing a demo for everything to just go crazy.
Of course not.
Yeah. And so the whole purpose of the back test, of course, is to show you on a daily basis, well, this is kind of what would have happened, Joe, if you would have ran this particular trade, okay? Using the strategy that you had. Now, Joe, keep in mind, there's a lot of things you can do. I want to show you something else. Okay, now you saw the behavior of this particular order here. Now, Renco said it was time to buy, right? I could easily apply one little simple signal. Like, we can look at something like we're going to go to our signals, and then we're going to go to something that we can look at the trend. We're just going to look at maybe momentum. Maybe we can look at the momentum ratio. Let's see, we'll use all of the candles. And that's a pretty good ratio. We'll say 50%. And then we'll say less than 3 on that. And let's run it. And let's see if that protects us in negative areas. So it is, you see this? It's running through that entire day, and nothing has even begun to trade yet.
Yeah, no trades, no wins, no loss.
Right, because that was a down day, essentially. And so it's like, nope, I don't care, Renco, what you're saying. Yeah, I know you. I know that you're, Renco is saying go, go, go. The momentum is saying no, no, no.
Right.
So is actually protecting us from those possibly not so great trades. Now let's see. I don't remember. Yeah, see, this was indicating 2 down days on December the 2nd, and it was protecting us the entire time.
Right. Right.
Even though there were potentially some trades in there, like it probably would have got us in right here and maybe got us out right there, and then probably would have got us in right here and got us right there. But ultimately, maybe this isn't even a day that you want to even have your money put at risk. So
exactly.
Just that one little thing could help you out. Now, if I change the setting just very slightly, and I said look back maybe 5 candles, we'll see a totally different behavior. And I'm not going to harp on this. I just want you to see that,
No, this is an incredible tool. This is a very valuable tool because you can test your theories, especially if you look back over a time period that you know would happen.
Right. And so it's the momentum ratio is keeping us pretty well protected, but because we opened it up, it's like, well, it's not going to protect you as good, but it's also maybe allowing you to get a peek at maybe some opportunities. Now, right now we're negative and things aren't looking good for us, but we also are trading on 2 negative days. Things may shape up if Baxter heads the other way. So now, our fees have added up to $71, but our strategy has given us 68, and hopefully it'll find a few more opportunities. But I'm going to stop it right there. But now you see kind of how this thing works. It's like, okay, this was pretty negative. Okay, we've seen a little positive, and it brought us in, but it still brought us in too late. And so there's just a lot of things you can do. But I definitely wanted you to see, here's another example: negative, positive. Boom. We captured that buy. We made $157, and it would have probably held us off right here. We wouldn't have got any. It would have probably brought us back in right here. We would have got out right there, and then it would have maybe got us in trouble right in here. We wouldn't have been trading here. We would have got in right here, sold right here, nothing, and then we would have made all of that. So, okay, I know I'm running my mouth because I'm starting to talk like a New Yorker now, extra fast.
Hey, I spent half my life in New York. That's all right.
Well, I think there's 2 types of New Yorkers. Like my wife is from New York, and so she's a fast talker. And then there's the other type, the more calm, kind of confident New Yorker. So it just depends. But the sales guys, they always talk fast.
I had an office on One Park Avenue for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I liked it. Okay, now this overlay on this chart is kind of interesting because what it's doing, from what I'm seeing, is it's not based on making a profit or losing a profit or anything. It's just based on
the signal,
timing and whether it's up or down. And it's.
Go ahead.
No, I just find it interesting, that it works that way. I have never seen this before. I've never seen it right.
Well, it's nothing but math. It's nothing but math. And in the case of the Renko, we've got plenty of signals for you, Joe. I mean, the Renko is just one. I mean, you're talking about, we've got, if I just took the momentum ratio, and I'm gonna take Renko out. You can use anything, and I'll show you. We'll just click that on. Okay, there are all the buys and sells. Okay, let me normalize them for you. All right, I'm gonna normalize them, and that just means that I want, Okay, so let's look at that. That's not too bad. Sell, buy.
No, it's not.
It just depends on what you're trying to achieve. For me, the Renko is almost the most mindless, useful, simple to understand signal. And then, you've got things like range breakouts. We've got those. We can just, if you notice, I'm not even configuring it. So, let's look at this and see what it does.
No,
Let me
see, all
normalize it.
yeah, this can make your brain turn to guacamole. I'll tell you.
Well,
I like the Renko the best of them all so far.
Yeah. But like the range breakout. You see, there's a breakout right there, like where there was like, okay, well, this just happened. Okay, no breakout. As soon as that went above that right there, breakout, bing, and just like this right here. Okay, we had a breakout that happened right there, and then we have a breakout right here that would have happened. We got a breakdown, and so again, it just depends on what type of trader you are. These signals are here for you to mix and match to get the behavior you want. So, like, I want to go over to our Facebook page and just show you real quick about, like, this is our old interface, and I'm pretty sure you saw the video. Those videos are about 2 years old.
Yeah.
And so here is, I can click on this particular image and show you, like I normally trade TNA, like I was telling you, and like you can see the behavior: buy, sell, and and as you see, I've got the momentum ratio along with the Renko, and of course you got to keep it in the context. Huh?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah, and you want to keep everything into context, like from the standpoint of, like, for instance, if you got a really bad whipsaw, there is no signal that can keep you out of that particular bad trade. I'm just going to let you know right now. But if you get a nice volatile day, these things will add some serious money to your bank.
Yeah, I believe that. I really do. I think that's
but I'm not going to sell you fish oil because, as you can see, this is a pretty ugly day. Okay. And this particular robot was running this strategy all day, right? And it made, let's see, how many trades is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 trades, and we barely eked out $660 because of the volatility. So Renko's not going to save your life, but it still keeps things under control because as you see, it drew us a nice flat line right when all of this craziness was going on right here. Even over here where there's a lot of, wave-like behavior, it kept things quiet, But right here would have been a bad buy and then a bad sell, just like right here, a bad buy and then a bad sell. So it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but depending on how your stock trades, if your stock trades in a very orderly fashion, it'll bend and make you money, But if you were trading some electrical power stock, I would say stay away from there. Like here's another example of the Renko, but I don't like to count these days because of the fact of it's an all-up day, so it's not too hard.
And they're very, very far and few between. So.
Right, and so like this particular this particular day is showing how many trades went off. That's about 6. Okay, so we had about 6 entries here. And you can see the Renko in that yellow line, that, like we took advantage of, those opportunities. There's one right there. There's an opportunity right there. We probably got that one. This would have made, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 probably happened somewhere else because I'm sorry. We basically only made 3 buys. So I would say probably 1, 2, 3, and then this one probably rode out the rest of the day because depending on how I had set the target up. But I like it. I'm still looking for better to create better ones. Like, there are other things that we're looking at. Like we do have AI in here, and we're just talking at a high level discussion right now. We do have some other features that are a part of the robot that are there for your taking. And like, for instance, you could say, okay, I want this robot to be granted permission before it buys. So I'll show you how it works. So I'll just say, okay, send this by email and by message box. Okay.
Right.
When permission is denied, I want you to take it offline. When permission timeout is pending, and it'll pend for 5 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to reset this, and we're going to watch and see what happens. Okay, as you see, I just got a permission request. So if I was sitting right here, and this thing's sending me a bunch of alerts, if I was sitting right here, then it would say, okay, you want to place this trade? I would say no, cancel it. And so we would just go down through here, canceling the trades. Let's see. Oh, okay. Baxter was still trying to go. Okay, and so
that was from one of the old ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
I like that feature too. That was one of the things that I read about that I liked. You know, because then you can. What that does is it's going to give you a very brief window of opportunity to look at the situation and see what it really is. And see if there's anything driving it. So I like that. That's pretty good. Right.
And so, you know.
Okay. My brain is overwhelmed now. So I'm going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend some time playing with it, and if I may, when I make some progress, I'm going to run it. I'm going to run a few tests, and I may give you a call and ask you. You know what I did wrong, why it didn't work. You know, and I'll let you have access to my robot so that you can see them.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Well, good, and keep going on it. This is one of the few things I've seen that I think is actually going to work. I told you I went out. I bought a new computer to run it on. So.
Oh wow.
I did. I went out and I bought a really nice Toshiba satellite with the Intel i7. So
that's
it should be able.
Yeah, this computer I think is an i7 as well. It is. Yes, an i7, 64 gig mem. Yeah, so that's You're going to get smooth.
That's what it takes. That's what it takes. Yeah, because my other two, I use all the time, but they're they're quad core, but they're old. So they're like 2 years old. Yeah. So this one is nifty. Plus, it gave me an excuse to buy a new laptop.
That's interesting.
All right. Well, listen. I thank you a great deal.
Yeah,
I will definitely be in touch.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.